Picture this, a family reunion in Louisiana, maybe the Carolinas, or even Brazil. The air is thick with the smell of barbecue, the sound of laughter, and stories being passed down through generations. In the middle of it all, you see a child with deep brown skin and a head full of fiery red hair. It's a striking sight, one that often stops people in their tracks and gets them talking. For many, the immediate assumption is that there must be a white ancestor somewhere in the family tree. Maybe from Ireland or Scotland, where red hair is common. It's an easy conclusion to jump to, a story we've been told so many times that it feels like the only possible answer. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the roots of that red hair run deeper and in more surprising directions than we ever imagined? The appearance of red or copper hair in Black and Afro-descended families is a fascinating puzzle. It's rare, to be sure. Statistics show that red hair is found in less than 0.1% of people in African populations, a stark contrast to its prevalence in Northern Europe. This rarity is precisely why it's so captivating and historically so misunderstood. When we see something that doesn't fit the expected pattern, our brains scramble for an explanation, and for centuries, the only explanation offered was one rooted in a history of European admixture. But science, family histories, and a deeper look at our shared human journey are beginning to paint a much richer and more complex picture. This isn't just a simple story about recessive genes from a distant European relative, though that is sometimes part of the equation. It's a journey into the very code of life, exploring different genetic pathways that can lead to the same stunning result. We'll travel from the familiar territory of the MC1R gene, the primary cause of red hair in Europeans, to the distant shores of Melanesia, where an entirely different gene creates blonde hair in some of the world's darkest skinned people. We'll touch on specific conditions like Rufous albinism, and even dip our toes into the mysterious concept of ghost DNA, which hints at ancient human lineages we are only just beginning to discover. When geneticists talk about red hair, there's one gene that almost always takes center stage, MC1R, which stands for melanocortin 1 receptor. Think of this gene as a traffic cop for your body's pigment production. In most people, MC1R gives the green light to produce a dark pigment called eumelanin, brown hair eumelanin, black hair and eumelanin, darker skin tones that protect from UV. This is why a fully functioning MC1R is common in sunny climates like Africa. It's an evolutionary adaptation for survival, but sometimes MC1R has variations, mutations, that make it less effective. It's like the traffic cop is on a coffee break. When MC1R isn't working, it can't signal for eumelanin. The body then makes pheomelanin instead, pheomelanin, reddish-yellow hue. This pigment causes red hair, fair skin, and freckles. Typically, a person needs to inherit a less functional MC1R variant from both parents, a recessive trait. Because these variants are most common in Northern Europeans, red hair has been linked to whiteness. That's a simple population-based connection, but genetics is rarely that simple. For years, scientists thought the European red hair mutations were absent in native African populations. The pressure to keep UV protection was strong. As research became more inclusive, a nuanced picture emerged. Recent studies found very rare MC1R variants in African populations that can also cause red hair. These variants are different from European ones, unique to African lineages. If someone inherits 2 copies of one of these rare variants, they can be born with natural red hair, even when both parents have black hair and dark skin. This discovery is a game changer. It confirms what some families have known for generations. Red hair can be homegrown in African-descended communities. It's not always from European contact. It can be a rare genetic signature, traveling silently through African bloodlines for centuries. This doesn't erase interracial history, which explains some cases, but it adds an important layer. The genetic potential for red hair, while exceptional, is part of African genetic diversity. Now, let's take a journey far from Europe, far from Africa, to the sun-drenched Solomon Islands in Melanesia, a region in Oceania, northeast of Australia. Here, you'll find people with some of the darkest skin tones outside of Africa, a testament to their ancestors' long history near the equator. But you'll also see something that might surprise you: children with stunning, naturally blonde hair, and adults with stunning, naturally blonde hair. For decades, outsiders assumed this must be the result of contact with European sailors or traders. But the islanders knew their own history, and their oral traditions didn't speak of such widespread mixing. Eventually, science caught up. In a landmark study, geneticists decided to investigate. They collected and analyzed DNA from the islanders and made a remarkable discovery. The blonde hair in Melanesia had nothing to do with the MC1R gene common in Europeans. Instead, it was caused by a different gene called TYRP1, tyrosinase-related protein 1. A single letter change in that gene was responsible. That mutation reduces production of dark pigment, producing blonde hair, but it doesn't significantly affect their dark skin color. It's a clear case of independent evolution. The same visible trait arrived at by a different genetic path. The TYRP1 mutation is common in the Solomon Islands. About 26% of people carry it, but it's virtually absent elsewhere outside Oceania. So what does this have to do with red hair in Black America? It expands our imagination. There can be more than one genetic road to a trait. When we hear the word albinism, most of us picture a person with very pale skin, white hair, and light-colored eyes. This is known as oculocutaneous albinism, and it's caused by genetic mutations that severely limit or completely block the production of melanin pigment. However, albinism isn't a single condition, it's a spectrum. On that spectrum is a lesser-known form called Rufous oculocutaneous albinism, or OCA3. This variety offers another crucial piece of the puzzle in our quest to understand red hair in people of African descent, and it brings us back to that fascinating gene we met in Melanesia, TYRP1. Rufous albinism is caused by mutations in the TYRP1 gene. Unlike mutations that block all pigment, the variants that cause rufous albinism only partially disrupt the process. The body can't produce the dark eumelanin pigment very well, but it can still produce the reddish pheomelanin pigment. The result is not a complete absence of color, but a different kind of coloring. Individuals with rufous albinism, who are most commonly found in populations in southern Africa and New Guinea, often have reddish-brown skin, ginger or red hair, and hazel or brown eyes. This is a critical point. Rufous albinism can explain the presence of natural red hair in some Black individuals entirely without involving the MC1R gene or any European ancestry. It is a distinct genetic condition rooted in African and oceanic populations. Just when you think genetics can't get any more fascinating, scientists introduce a concept that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie: ghost DNA. This isn't about spooky spirits. It's about real, tangible genetic material found in modern humans that doesn't match any known ancestral group: Neanderthal, Denisovans. Imagine sifting through a library of ancient books and finding a few pages written in a language no one has ever seen before. That's ghost DNA. It's a genetic echo of ancient, archaic human populations that interbred with our ancestors tens of thousands of years ago, but left behind no fossils, only these whispers in our genetic code. These ghost lineages have been detected most prominently in West African populations. Scientists studying the genomes of groups like the Yoruba, Mende, found segments pointing to a mysterious hominin. This discovery means the story of human evolution is even more complex than we thought. Now, how does this connect to red hair? Some researchers and cultural historians have pointed to a curious overlap. In some of the same communities where this ghost DNA is present, there are oral traditions and family histories of rare traits, including red hair, that are said to be ancient. The theory, still speculative but intriguing, is that some unique traits might be ancient characteristics passed down from these ghost populations. The presence of Denisovan DNA in Melanesians, who also have unique hair traits, serves as a parallel of how ancient interbreeding shaped modern diversity. The idea of ghost DNA invites us to consider that the roots of a trait like red hair could be far more ancient and mysterious than we ever imagined. Fascinating. We can't talk about genetics and race without talking about history, and specifically the painful history of colonialism and scientific racism. For centuries, a system of thought was constructed not to understand humanity, but to classify and control it. During the 18th and 19th centuries, the rise of eugenics and so-called race science skull shape, hair texture, skin color to create a hierarchy that placed whiteness at the top and blackness at the bottom. This wasn't science. It was a justification for slavery, subjugation, genocide. Within this twisted framework, physical traits were rigidly mapped onto racial categories. Red hair, light skin, straight hair became synonymous with European or white. Kinky hair, broad noses, dark skin became markers of African or black. There was no room for nuance or variation. If a black person had a trait that was designated as white, like red hair, it was immediately interpreted as evidence of racial mixing, often through the violent context of slavery. The possibility that such a trait could be indigenous was simply not considered. What colonialism and scientific racism did was not create red hair in black people, but create a system of visibility that made us stop seeing it as our own. This is why reclaiming this history is so important. It's not just about correcting a scientific record. It's about healing a historical trauma. When we explore MC1R variants, Rufous albinism, other pathways, we push back against a legacy that denied Black people the full spectrum of their humanity. Acknowledging this truth is a powerful act of reclamation. So, where does this journey leave us? It leaves us standing in a place of wonder, complexity, and newfound appreciation for the incredible diversity of the human family. The story of red hair in Black America is not a simple one with a single answer. Instead, it's a beautiful tapestry woven from many different threads. One thread is the science of the MC1R gene, showing how rare, recessive variants can travel through generations. Another thread is the TYRP1 gene, which causes Rufous albinism in some African populations. In a different form, TYRP1 also produces blonde hair in Melanesia. And then there are the more mysterious threads, the whispers of ghost DNA. This complexity is something to be celebrated, not simplified. Our DNA tells a story of constant movement, mixing, and adaptation. Labels like black and white are social constructs, powerful, real in consequence, but not perfect reflections of biological diversity. The child with red hair in a black family is a living testament to this truth. Their hair might come from a European ancestor from centuries ago, or from a rare African MC1R variant, or from a TYRP1 mutation causing Rufous albinism, or from a combination we don't fully understand yet. We need more inclusive genetic research beyond European populations. That research will fill gaps and ensure science serves all of humanity. Listen to family stories, honor oral traditions, and be mindful of historical trauma. Humanity is a single, sprawling, interconnected tapestry. Every thread, no matter how rare, is essential to the beauty of the whole. Yeah,